स्वागत है आपका प्रिंट के पॉलिटिकल अड्डा प्रोग्राम में। और हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं कर्नाटक के इलेक्शन को। कर्नाटक में जिस तरह से बीजेपी की सीट अनाउंसमेंट हुई है, उसके बाद लगातार रिजेंटमेंट और असंतोष ये सामने आ रही है। और खास करके एक ऐसे राज्य में जहां पर जो इलेक्शन फाइट है बहुत ही टाइट है, वहां पर बड़े नेताओं का, जगदीश शेट्टर हो या फिर आप देखें ईश्वरप्पा, जो बैकवर्ड क्लास के एक बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट लीडर हैं, जो येदियुरप्पा के साथ उन्होंने एक तरह से पार्टी को बिल्ड किया, उन सब का नाराज होना क्या संदेश देता है और बीजेपी इन सब से कैसे निकलेगी? तो हमारा आज का सवाल है कि कैन बीजेपी क्वेल डिसेंट ओवर कर्नाटक कैंडिडेट लिस्ट। और हमारे साथ दो मेहमान जुड़ रहे हैं, हमारे सहयोगी, हमारे कोलीग शरण बैंगलोर से, और साथ ही ए नारायणा, जो कि अजीज प्रेमजी यूनिवर्सिटी में फैकल्टी हैं, नोटेड एक्सपर्ट हैं। तो वेलकम टू द प्रिंट। और हम शुरुआत करते हैं सबसे पहले शरण आपसे कि हाउ डू यू सी, आप कैसे देख रहे हैं इस पूरे डिसेंट को, जो जिस तरह से प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे हैं पूरे स्टेट में? वैसे तो अक्सर हाँ, इस तरह की जब लिस्ट आती है किसी भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी की, तो इस तरह के प्रोटेस्ट, इस तरह का डिसेंट बहुत ही लाजमी होता है। हिमाचल हो, हमने गुजरात में भी देखा कि बीजेपी के कई सारे एमएलए ने वहां पे प्रोटेस्ट किया, कई सारे ने रिजाइन करके चुनाव भी लड़ा। लेकिन ये जो कर्नाटक का प्रोटेस्ट है, हाउ इट इज अ डिफरेंट फ्रॉम गुजरात और हिमाचल?
For starters, Karnataka cannot be compared with probably many other North Indian states because Karnataka has a very different political culture in itself. And we are seeing dissent in the BJP, where the BJP particularly does not have very, very strong leaders, barring the exception of perhaps the BS Yediyurappa. Now, the other leaders are known to always stay in line. They're not leaders who question the central leadership over any decision. Tickets are a far-fetched idea that they will actually, sort of question them. But so far, they've never really stood up to the center per se, be it the chief minister or any other cabinet ministers. These are people who take orders from Delhi and very proudly say so. So they have shown very less resistance towards anything that Delhi has put on them. Now, the reason this time the dissent seems far more pronounced is for the fact that it is one of the more decisive elections and an election that comes just before the 2024 Lok Sabha polls. Now, the 2024 Lok Sabha polls, we know that the Prime Minister is, defending a record third term in office. He will be contesting for that. And Karnataka will definitely play a big role as to which way Karnataka goes, will definitely be able to determine which way the country may go. Now, in Karnataka, we've also seen that a lot of leaders who have, so far taken all orders from Delhi, even bypassing state leaders, now they are protesting. Now, be it Lakshman Saudi, who has resigned from the BJP despite being made the deputy chief minister, even though he did not win the 2018 elections. And then we have a Jagdish Shettar, who's a former chief minister. He says that he was not given any respect and left out, of even the consultation process. He has now rushed to Delhi to get a ticket for himself. So yeah, the dissent is a problem. There are some leaders who have taken a backseat saying, okay, we have not been consulted, we are sad, but we will not do anything about it. We will just retire quietly. But then a few section of leaders like Lakshman Saudi have now decided to contest either as rebels or join a rival party. Now, this will have some impact. Now, in Karnataka, where vote margins are very, very thin and the voters are known to vote in different directions every single elections, it's very difficult for a party to claim ownership of a constituency. And every small party matters. There is the AAP, there is the Gali Janardhan-led party, then there is STPI, there is AIMIM. So everyone's going to be eating into votes. So every single vote matters, and everyone who's dissenting right now will possibly have an impact on the outcome of the elections.
Since Professor Narayana is our guest, so most of the question we will ask to Professor. Professor, do you think this dissent or protest will impact BJP prospect in election?
Yeah, so thank you. Let me start by responding to your previous question briefly, the difference between Karnataka scenario this time and what might have happened in some other states. So just to add to what Sharon has already said, this kind of phenomenon may be very common in seat selection process, and we might have witnessed this kind of phenomenon even in other states. But with reference to Karnataka in particular, this kind of resentment, the scale of which is quite unprecedented in Karnataka, not just in BJP, but if you consider all other parties also, I don't remember to have seen this kind of reaction to the ticket distribution process in the past, much less in the BJP. In the past, what used to happen, we used to see more of this kind of resentment in the Congress, and this time we see it in the BJP. And when compared to what happened in the BJP in the past, this is quite phenomenal. So that is one. And will it affect the BJP's prospects? I would say the following. Now, what will happen from now onwards? Some of them have already left and joined the other parties, and that will change the dynamics of the constituency concerned. How the presence of the rebel candidates, not rebel candidates, candidates who have left the party and joined another party and contesting from those parties. So how that will change the dynamics of that particular constituency is one thing. So certainly we cannot say that everywhere BJP is going to be affected adversely, and we cannot also say that it is not going to be affected adversely. So that's one. Second set of candidates will not join another party because there might not be any space for them to contest from another party. They will contest as rebels. In that case, it depends upon the strength of the candidate concerned to dent the BJP's prospects. There will be another set of candidates who will not show the courage of openly rebelling, and they will work against the party clandestinely. And that is the most dangerous group, if I can guess. In the sense, in the case of the first two categories, the party will have some levers to control them, IT, CBI, or whatever weaknesses they might have. Maybe shown to them as a future threat, and they might be asked to even lie low. But those who are going to show that they are going to lie low, but actually don't lie low, they are going to be the group which will pose the real threat to the prospects of the party. Going by what has been witnessed in the last 2 days, I am sure a number of rebels or a number of disgruntled leaders will take this route.
If we discuss case by case, particularly case of Jagdish Shettar, he is a former chief minister, and BJP is a very disciplined party. No leader like say former chief minister in Gujarat, BJP has denied ticket to Vijay Rupani, Nitin Bhai Patel, deputy chief minister, but no one has protested and obliged what BJP High Command has told him to do. But here, Jagdish Shettar openly at this press conference, he's saying he wants to contest election. So this shows the level of discontent or level of disenchantment with the Central High Command, what Central High Command wants to do in Karnataka.
Yeah. So in the case of Mr. Shettar in particular, we are not to hear the last word. It is still under consideration because the BJP has not announced its candidate for Hubli Central. So therefore, it is still under negotiation. We do not know which way it is going to settle. But in case it is going to be against Mr. Shettar, his wishes, if he is not going to be the candidate there, then I'm not able to guess at this moment which category he is going to fall into, the three categories that I have said. But wherever he goes, a signal has gone already around, which is not very favorable to the BJP, which is that the BJP's relationship with Mr. Yediyurappa is in doubt, whether he is really treated well, whether he is shown to be treated well. This is one thing. And now, after Yediyurappa, Mr. Shettar is another Lingayat leader. And we know in the past that after Yediyurappa stepped down, Shettar became the chief minister. So he's a fairly senior leader, and as he himself claimed, he has a very unblemished record as a politician, as a minister, as chief minister, etc. It is a different thing that last time the party lost the elections under his leadership. That's a different thing. But somebody who has this kind of a clean image and a Lingayat leader and a prominent leader of the BJP from the RSS background. If he is treated like this, irrespective of what is going to happen to him, a signal has already gone to the voters in general and to the Lingayat voters in particular, which is not going to help BJP's cause much.
Sharon?
So also, so far the BJP has released about 212 names, 12 more under consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you make of the list so far? I mean, do you think it was a very predictable list? Do you think there was, as the party claims, there were 52 new faces? Do you think they've revolutionized their own way of, announcing the list, or new names, new opportunities? So what do you make of the list in the first place?
Okay. So now, when it comes to changing the sitting MLAs, I think the number this time is slightly higher. I do not have the comparative figures of the BJP in the past or the comparative figures from any other party in the past. However, on the face of it, it appears that this time more number of sitting MLAs have been unseated. They have not been given a chance to contest again. But some of them, I think, were expected. Some of them were not expected. So this is the only difference I see in the list. But the discontent is not always from, and all the discontent that we see in the last 2 days is not originating from only these constituencies. That is another thing to be noted. So where expected face has been given re-nomination, or a sitting MLA has been given nomination, or some other aspirant has been given ticket, there also we see some kind of discontent. That's a different thing. But coming back to your question, what is the difference this time? This is the only difference that I see. And with regard to all the new faces that they are claiming, I don't see, again, we do not have the comparative figures at this point in time. How many new faces were there in the last elections? How many new faces are there in other parties? Because other parties routinely gave that and they kept quiet. They did not make a big show of the new faces. Now these new faces fall into 2-3 categories again. One category of new faces, had to be there. There is nothing new about these new faces, because the sitting MLA there didn't want to contest, or he died, or he is not there in the fray. So therefore, there has to be a new face. Another set of new faces are from constituencies where the party does not have any chances of winning. Right? And another set of constituencies where the party lost last time. And therefore, all the parties have a tendency to keep changing the faces where they continuously lost in the past elections. Therefore, this set of new faces will have to be scrutinized a little before we draw any conclusions about whether it is radically different from the past.
But is there an overarching theme in this particular list that you see, sir?
Okay. So now, this is also in response to a point made as part of a previous question, that BJP is a disciplined party, and therefore this kind of discontent and what has given rise to this is something new. So there I want to make a larger point. The larger point is this: BJP may be a disciplined party at some part of its operation, but in Karnataka, the BJP's growth has not been organic. BJP's mobilization on the ground is extremely undisciplined. All kinds of people have been incorporated into the party. Everyone was welcome. And another new thing, Sharon, if you allow me to go back to your previous question for a moment, 2 or 3 faces in this list are extremely problematic. Extremely problematic. One of them had a banishment order against him. Another has several cases pending against him, and who was, of course, there faced during anti-hijab movement, etc. That's a different thing. And a third one of them, and he falls into the similar category. He has been denied ticket and he is contesting. He's threatening now to contest as rebel. So I don't know how they are going to classify him. So there are certain elements in this list which does not, conform to the larger claim made by the BJP that it is a disciplined party. But going back to the main point, which is that BJP, in its growth since 1994 and 2004 in particular, BJP has grown by resorting to this kind of undisciplined mobilization, by taking in all kinds of characters, all kinds of people in whom they saw some kind of winnability. And that kind of, despite that kind of undisciplined mobilization, now they are imposing certain kind of discipline, and that's where the conflict lies.
Okay, before moving, I will start taking question of viewers. Aditya has asked, can Karnataka rebels present the same challenge to BJP candidate just like they had provided in Himachal Pradesh? In Himachal, rebels has caused defeated BJP.
Okay, so in Himachal Pradesh, eventually the BJP lost and the Congress won by a thin margin. But to say anything conclusively or nearly conclusively about what can happen in Karnataka, we have to wait till the last day of withdrawal of nominations. So that time we will know how many of them are going to stay in the fray, and how many, and even after that, sometimes the candidates can retire in favor of the official nominee. So, and how many of them are going to join other parties and contest. So the things are in a state of flux as of now, and we have to wait at least for a week to answer that question with any level of certainty.
No, sense of question. Yeah, Sharan. Sense of question is in Himachal Pradesh, as a constituency size is very small. If you take away 2,000 votes, 3,000 votes, it can pose to problem to any candidate. In Karnataka, BJP is fighting with perception problem like corruption charges, anti-incumbency, and if BJP rebel stand in election, if they take away 5,000 votes, 6,000 votes, it can pose problem to BJP official candidate.
That's true. If in case they stay, it is, as Sharon mentioned earlier. In most of the constituencies, the winning margin last time was very thin. That's one. And secondly, in Himachal Pradesh, it was a direct fight between Congress and the BJP. In Karnataka, we have a third player, which is the JDS, and therefore split of votes is more. And then in northern Karnataka, we also have an outfit floated by Mr. Reddy, who was an ex-BJP man. And therefore, the winning margin is certainly going to be thinner this time. It's going to be a fiercely contested election. And therefore, the presence of a party rebel and the prospects of the rebel taking away some of the votes which otherwise would have gone to the BJP's kitty is certainly something the BJP will have to worry about.
So, I mean, we've also seen in the list that, people who toppled the Kumaraswamy-led coalition government, they continue to get the same patronage that they got under Yediyurappa. They continue to get the same patronage. Now, why do you think this is? I mean, these are people who have not particularly contributed to the party by a lot. There have been a couple of them who've been asked to get out, leave the ministry because of certain allegations. And they're not people who subscribe to the ideology as we've known before. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, these people continue to enjoy the patronage, however, of the BJP. Is there a larger message that the BJP is giving out on this side?
Okay, so now actually, this decision to reinstate most of them, if not all of them, is in contradiction with what the party has done otherwise, right? So they have replaced their own loyal MLAs and they have renominated these people. So if they wanted to really experiment and if they have that courage that we have come of age in Karnataka and we are going to win a constituency no matter whom we are going to field, then that courage should have been shown in the case of these characters. For two reasons. One, some of them are extremely problematic in the sense they kept bothering them all through. Second, they also don't subscribe to the core ideology of the party. Now, despite that, these elements or these MLAs have been renominated. Now, the only, which is in contradiction with other side of the list, which is that they showed some courage to replace the sitting MLAs. Now, only reason that I can guess or I can think of at this point in time is this, which is that the BJP perceived a possible strengthening of the opposition party in case these MLAs are not accommodated in the BJP. In other words, if the BJP does not give them the ticket, the chances are that these people go to either the Congress or JDS and defeat the BJP there. So the party saw a clear signal of losing these constituencies, or in some cases more than one constituency, because some of them could influence more than one constituency prospect. And therefore, it is as if you don't give them the ticket, you are going to lose as many seats. In most cases, it is that certain it seems, or at least they'll upset the apple cart of the BJP there, and the party did not want to take that risk. And also in the first list, where have they given? Where have they replaced the MLAs? Sitting MLAs. In the first list, at least, they have replaced MLAs in only those constituencies where they are going to win anyway. So these are their strongholds, right? Dakshina Kannada, Udupi, so Bombay, Karnataka, which includes even Shetter's seat. So these are the constituencies where they have confidence of winning no matter whom they field, and in such a constituencies they have replaced. But we cannot say the same thing in the case of these rebel MLAs constituencies.
Okay, last 2-3 question. Ruben asked where these ex-BJP dissenter actually harm its prospect, or these dissenter are making more noise than substance?
Yeah, so there is a mix of all of them. So right now, see, they always, we have seen in the past also, in the case of all parties, that on day one, there will be a lot of noise, then it will be subsiding on its own, or the parties manage to quell them. Parties manage to somehow silence them. And we have to admit that when compared to any other party, the BJP's ability to silence them by hook or crook is much higher than any other party. So that also will have to be taken into account. And most of them will anyway will not do much in the days to come. But however, the difference again is that some of them have already joined another party. Some of them have already quit the party. Some of them have already decided to contest. So therefore, the scenario this time is certainly slightly different when compared to the past. Although I agree with the question that many of them are going to go silent in a day or two. Or even
Vizar asking by how many votes will BJP lose this election and next election?
Sharan, I think, will answer this better because he's a man from the ground.
No, we're not making any predictions so far, at least. But yeah, it is, like every time we think that, elections this time is going to be very different or very fiercely fought and everything. And this time is no different. I would imagine that the stakes are far higher this time. And also, we have to see that, Congress this is a state where the Congress actually has a presence and actually has a chance of a revival.
Not just present, it's strong.
Yeah, it is strong, exactly. So it is not one of those states where the BJP can just take it for granted that the voters will go this way. So yeah, I mean, this election has a high amount of stakes, but every election is different, and we're not yet, I guess, seeing the early trends, of course, suggest a fierce fight. But more than that, at this moment, it's very difficult to say how things will play out anyway. But in addition, sir, I just wanted to ask you one more question now. Mm-hmm. We've seen trouble within the BJP, but not leaving out problems that are there in the Congress as well as the JDS. Both of them have announced limited lists, and both of them also have enough problems within their own. Mm-hmm. Now, do these problems cancel out each other?
No. So that's where the difference lies, possibly. Yeah. So now, the kind of problems and the resentment that we saw in the Congress is certainly comparable with what the party would have witnessed in the past. There is nothing more than that. In the JD's case, I think it was very minimal. And it was expected. So in the case of the Congress, what we saw this year is not certainly more than what any party in any election encountered. Okay. And then, in the case of the BJP, if you compare what's happening in the BJP and what is happening in the Congress, we have to also admit the fact that this problem did not start with the ticket distribution. Very unusually, we saw a series of defections from the BJP to the Congress even before the ticket hangama started. So, in fact, what we see now is a continuation of what was happening already. So, this did not happen in the past. Never happened in the past. with the BJP in particular. So if you see 2013, for example, so towards the end, not 2013, yeah, 2013. So when the BJP was about to face elections, when the elections were announced, BJP was a stable group. Of course, Yadurappa had left, Sriramulu had left, all those things were happening. But then that happened a little earlier, and whoever wanted to go went. And in the run-up to the election, the party as such was a cohesive party, right? But we see the situation of the BJP this time much worse than what it was in 2013.
Okay. Last question I'm asking, Aditya is asking how Karnataka politics is different from other southern state politics and why BJP has failed in other southern states.
Okay, so that's a very broad question. And one of the reasons why the Karnataka politics is very different from politics in other southern states is the fact that in Karnataka, we don't have a regional party. So we have it in Andhra Pradesh, we have it in Telangana, we have it in Tamil Nadu, we have it in Kerala in a different form. I say different form because in Kerala, the version of the Congress is not AICC, it is a Kerala version of the Congress. Yeah. Similarly, and they fight as a coalition and they don't fight as a party, right? So it is a different regional variation of the Congress there. Similarly of the CPM. So I don't consider CPM in Kerala and Congress in Kerala as national parties. It's a regional expression of these two parties. So therefore, in all the other four states, we have regional parties. We have very strong local parties. In Karnataka, we don't have. People might say that it's JDS. JDS is certainly not a regional party. It doesn't have any character of a typical regional party in India. It is a splinter group of what used to be a national party at one point in time. So that is the first difference. The second difference, which also is other part of the question, which is why BJP is stronger here. Now, when compared to other states. Now, BJP has been there in a way from 1983, or if you go a little back in history, ever since 1967. Okay. So, and then BJP started seeing some kind of growth in Karnataka only after the Janata Dal started disintegrating. Now, the disintegrated parts of Janata Dal went and joined the BJP. Okay. So that's the way BJP grew in Karnataka. Now, therefore, why BJP grew in Karnataka? Because any state needs a second party. And when the Janata Dal ceased to be the second player, and BJP simply occupied that space. And only recently, in the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, I would say, or well, maybe in the last 10 years, there is some growth of the BJP on its own. So therefore, now why BJP is present in Karnataka but not in other states? Because the second space there is occupied either by a national party or a strong regional party. Here, for the second slot, we had Janata Dal, and as Janata Dal disintegrated, the BJP was a natural, successor of that.
शरण, अंतिम सवाल आपसे मैं पूछता हूं कि जो लिस्ट आई है उस लिस्ट को देखकर ये लगता है कि जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने इलेक्शन कमेटी की मीटिंग में ये कहा था कि लिस्ट शुड बी एस्पिरेशनल नॉट स्टेटस क्वेस्ट, जबकि लिस्ट में ऐसा कुछ भी एस्पिरेशनल नहीं दिखता। यानी कि गुजरात में बीजेपी ने 40 एमएलए सिटिंग एमएलए के टिकट काटे थे। आप यहाँ पे देखें कि 20% भी नहीं है, 10% से के आसपास एमएलए की सीट, सिटिंग एमएलए की सीट कटेगी। तो एस्पिरेशनल और तो कुछ नहीं दिख रहा, ज्यादातर स्टेटस क्वेस्ट है कि जो है उसी को बचा के रखो और ज्यादा रिस्क लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। ज्यादा रिस्क लेने पे हो सकता है कि और वो काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव हो जाए।
So we go back to the first answer that I gave, that, the reason we cannot compare Karnataka to other states is Karnataka, BJP has made several exceptions for Karnataka, and it starts right from the top. The BJP 75-year-old rule was broken by the BJP itself for Yadurappa. The BJP never announces a chief ministerial candidate, but in Karnataka, 1 year before the 2018 elections, Amit Shah himself announced Yadurappa as the candidate. Now in Karnataka, they've had to make such considerations because perhaps they're still trying to understand how Karnataka really works, or Karnataka's regional players, as in, people who play by the constituencies, have far greater knowledge of those particular, regions than, taking Karnataka as a whole and making one strategy that fits all for Karnataka. It is very difficult because you have the Mumbai Karnataka region where you have, a fair section of Hindutva playing, and then there's a lot of caste, different castes playing. Similarly, in east, that is a Kalyana Karnataka region. In the coast, it's dominated mostly by Hindutva. In southern Karnataka, you have many, many different players. So in that sense, the BJP cannot have a list that they have, tried, or cannot have a strategy that they've tried in other states, for the very simple reason that here, constituency to constituency, it is very, very different. Who runs the constituency, how it is run, what is the influence of the RSS, what is the influence of the JDS? Because, and also we have to understand that in Karnataka, the people who have succeeded in politics, at least the chief ministers or the people who became big leaders, are people who have, the ability to stitch up local coalitions or local understanding. Now, these are people who will, just for example's sake, now we know that, that leaders, the top leaders, actually can have a direct phone call with the leader of the rival party, just to ensure they can, get an understanding and say, we will help you in this constituency. Can you help us in this constituency? It's a very simple understanding in politics. But the BJP per se wants, they want, to win it all. But local coalitions are something that the BJP at the center may not consider fully. But in Karnataka and amongst the Karnataka leadership, it's a very, very important thing. Now, Yediyurappa, Siddaramaiah, and Devegowda all individually have great working relationships. And they have, irrespective of who's in power, all these three people have the power to influence policies, have the power, they always remain relevant despite of who's being in power or not. They still have the power. So those local coalition is something that the BJP at the center may not be very encouraging about, but the locals also, they fall back heavily on. JDS is known, or rather JDS has backed the BJP in Old Mysuru region, in the northern region as well. So different factors, which cannot be said that, we will vote for BJP no matter what. And Karnataka is also a state which votes differently for state elections and very differently for the national elections. So all of those factors combined, you cannot have a one strategy fits all sort of approach for Karnataka.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया शरण हमसे जुड़ने के लिए, एंड प्रोफेसर नारायण आपका भी शुक्रिया हमसे जुड़ने के लिए। कर्नाटक इलेक्शन में ढेर सारी वेरिएबल्स हैं और बीजेपी ने अपना जो फर्स्ट लेवल का जो रोड ब्लॉक है, जो पहले डिसेंट है, जो डिसेंटर है, जो रिजेंटमेंट है, इसको दबाना है। हालांकि बीजेपी की जो लार्जर इलेक्शन मशीनरी है वो इन सब कामों में बहुत एक्सपर्ट है, और अगले 2-4-5 दिनों में जब नॉमिनेशन शुरू होंगे तो बीजेपी उस असंतोष को, उस डिसेंट है, उसको दबाने में कामयाब हो जाएगी। और उसके बाद देखना होगा कि जो एक्चुअल नैरेटिव है, जब प्रधानमंत्री कर्नाटक की इलेक्शन की रैलियों में निकलेंगे तो किस तरह से नैरेटिव जो बीजेपी का है वो कामयाब हो पाता है, बेनिफिशियरी का कार्ड, या फिर कहें कि करप्शन के जो चार्जेस लगे हैं उनको कैसे प्रधानमंत्री काउंटर करते हैं। तो इस एपिसोड में इतना ही। व्यूअर, आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जो हमसे जुड़ने के लिए, और हमारे तमाम गेस्ट का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू वेरी मच।